I have an appointment online on the phone. And she's like, really? She goes to somebody. And that's what she has to take time out of her day to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes it nice, too, that we have this flexibility that you can be like, I'm sure. Give
me another hour.
Totally. Because I'm not in an office sitting there twiddling my thumbs. It's like, I can go do a load of laundry. I just wrote about 200 words on the book that I'm writing. So it's like I can get a lot of shit done.
Yeah, really.
Well, perfect. And it is perfect, but, you know, if I had a super busy schedule, sometimes I don't have the flexibility. It's like, well, okay, and I would have said what time, but today I have the flexibility.
Good.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so I'm recording.
Okay.
Tell me where you're at. I mean, this is I have this down as our 8th session.
Wow.
Right?
Cool.
It's like, there's been a lot of progress, but the progress happened real early for you. Some people at this point aren't here yet. You know, they're still overeating and they're still wanting to diet and and that might be happening for you. But I think you've had a lot of, I don't know, our work together has been very direct.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was just ready for it too.
I would agree. And I think on some level, everybody that reaches out to work with me is ready on some level, right? Mm-hmm. I have another client. I mean, I have quite a bit of people I'm working with right now, and there's some that just, it's not working. Mm-hmm. You know, and and I've tried to understand, well, why? And I think it has a lot to do with they're just not ready to accept their weight. They're just not ready. It's too painful. They don't want to face it. You know, it's not that it's not the right exit. It's they don't want to do it. Think about how hard it was for you to face being overweight. And it's relative.
I've been facing it all my life too.
Yeah, well, and I have to say, it's relative to the anorexia, because you're really not overweight. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, you hear that and you're like, it's crazy. Because when I say you're overweight, we're talking anorexic overweight. Mm-hmm. I have another client I'm working with right now who is over 300 pounds. Mm-hmm. Same exact exit that you took. Same exact one. And it was that painful.
Oh, I bet.
Right? But that doesn't mean that it wasn't painful for you. And I think that's an important thing for people to recognize, that it's not about your weight.
Right. Right. It's all the same in your head. It is. It's about the pain of what you're letting go of. And for you, it was the sense of safety that you was within reach. You were within reach of that safety. Right? It was 15 pounds. I just need to lose 15 pounds or whatever it was, right? Yep.
And so when you are that miserable, making extreme sacrifices for what? You're not getting anywhere with those sacrifices. You're just staying put. So just to stay put, you know.
That's for sure.
I know. So you're doing all this and you realize, right, this is what it requires forever. And I can't do it anymore. So the only thing you can do is face the weight gain. Right? Face the weight gain. Does it sound ridiculous to you right now?
No, it doesn't. I mean, then it might have been.
That's what I meant. Like, now it's like I'm facing weight gain. And today you're like, okay, that sounds easy.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But when we first started, right, 8 sessions ago, it was terrible. It was frightening. It was horrible. It was dark. It was painful. It was suicidal. It was just so bad, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, some people are in that space, but they can't face it. That's why they don't get it, because they're getting the direction of it. Like, here are the directions. You have to face this. But what about my health? Right, you had that thought too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so where are you at today? Do you still feel liberated?
I do still feel liberated, especially like this morning I went out to eat with my friend, and I ordered like stuff that 6 months ago I would have never ordered because I would have felt so ashamed of myself. But I ordered it, and I ate it until I had enough, and I didn't even eat a quarter of what I ordered, and that was fine. I didn't feel bad like I'm wasting something, or I didn't feel I have to finish it, or I didn't feel, oh my God, this tastes so good, I just want to eat all of it. It was just like, eat. Okay, had enough. Pushed it away, and it was fine.
Easy.
Yeah.
Are you surprised?
It's nice to be in that place.
Say that again?
It's nice to be in that place.
Oh, right. Don't you remember when you didn't think this existed or that it was ever possible?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I remember so vividly. I couldn't even fathom life without feeling tortured around food. Like, how does that even exist, and can it ever exist for me again? And I could not imagine it was possible.
And it is possible.
That I know. That's why I just said to you, can you even believe it? Go back to that. Just go back to what this breakfast would have been. What it would have been like. Don't you agree?
Say it again.
How breakfast would have been for you?
Oh, yeah, it would have been miserable.
Oh, tortured. It would have been full of anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
You would have been afraid, right? There would have been fear. You would have looked at the menu and tried to be safe. But then if your friend ordered something, or if they brought something to the table that was unsafe, then you just want to taste it. I just want to try it. I just want a taste of her eggs, or of that cinnamon roll. And then you're like, oh, okay, just a taste, right? Or if you hadn't have given yourself that freedom, well, if you would have given yourself that freedom, it would have been an all-out binge fest for the rest of the day.
Exactly.
And then did you purge? Were you bulimic?
No.
Okay, well, I would have. So in my mind, it would have been like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and give myself the cinnamon rolls, the waffles. I'm going to go ahead. And I would have known it was looking weird in front of whoever I was eating, but I would have done it anyways. And then I would have binged or purged, and then I would have either exercised for a couple of hours, or I would have just made the whole entire day devoted to binging. So then I would have said, well, then next I'm going to go to fast food and I'm going to get a cheeseburger. Right?
Yep.
So purging creates a huge full on perpetual binge. And that's typically what happens too with people who are, let's just say, the kind of extreme end of binge eating, is they do that all day because they ruin the day. They might as well get the whole day in. And so, but if you hadn't have binged, and let's just say you got through that breakfast eating whatever it was that you ordered, your one egg and your egg whites, and you had spinach on the side, and you made all these special things, afterwards you probably would have binged, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Oh, it just is full, and then the guilt and the shame and the feeling like you can't breathe. Again, go back there. And then constantly body checking, right? Body checking. Oh. Anyway, so being able to go out with your friend and order what you want, and it not having any of that, is like a fantasy. You're living is like a fantasy, but it's actually reality. So it's awesome. Yeah. No issues at all. You're good. There's nothing anymore. Anything? Do you have any like residual overeating connected to stress? Is there any of that?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Is there any residual stress connected or overeating connected to stress?
Not really.
So you've done a pretty good job of being honoring and being truthful, because I think that's what this is really about, is being truthful to yourself about your hunger, the body's hunger.
Trying to. Sometimes I question if I'm doing it.
Well, do you question if you're accurate, or do you question, am I overeating for an emotional reason? I remember for me, I had to really question, am I being honest about it? Am I accurate? And I remember a couple of times going, I can't really tell. I can't tell if am I really hungry enough? I can't tell, but I just have to go. I can tell it's not emotional. I don't feel emotional. Like I have no reason other than I think I'm hungry. So I have to be willing to just say, all right, well, I'm going to eat, because even if I'm not accurate and I'm off target, I'm not doing it intentionally. I'm just trying to figure this out. And so I'm just going to do it. And you know what? If I gain weight because of that, so be it. So be it. I shouldn't have to be super perfect. I don't have to be super thin anymore. So it doesn't have to be perfect, So
that's exactly what I was experiencing.
Yeah, so you're not being perfectionistic about it.
Mm-hmm. And it does make you wonder sometimes if it's okay, but
maybe you're doing the best.
To hear you say that.
Yeah, because you're doing the best you can with what you're aware of. You're staying inside of your current awareness with it, and that's all you really can do. So to expect you to be able to perform eating to the hunger scale, right? As if you're, I've been doing it for 19 and a half years now. So I'm pretty stinking good at it. I mean, it's natural. I don't think about it. I'm not intentionally doing it anymore.
Right. And that's what I want just to be the way it is, not me thinking about it or pre-planning it or.
Well, and and the goal isn't that you're pre-planning anything. You just have to go with it, right? That it is just planned already.
Right?
Yeah, the body's got its understanding of what it's managing, whether it's pressure gradient changes, you're traveling, it needs water, it needs sodium. I mean, it knows everything. You just kind of have to go with it. So having a plan is just, that's not recovery, right? So in the beginning, it should feel kind of like I'm new at this. How long did you live controlled or out of control, right? How long did you live like that?
40 years.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a learning curve. I know based on not only my experience, but from monitoring other people who've been doing this as chronically as you have. I didn't suffer that long. I just suffered deeply real fast. But for me, it was a pretty rapid learning curve, and that's what I find with everybody. Doesn't matter how long you've been dieting and binging. It's a very rapid learning curve, because if you're honest, that's the key.
Yeah, right.
You have to be honest with yourself. I'm not hungry. And the willingness to sit back, and if there are emotional impulses, to sit in it, to understand it. That takes humility, And then the other side of it, the more humility someone has and the more truthfulness that they have, the more rapid the learning curve is with the hunger scale. It's just hold yourself responsible. Just be responsible. Be honest with yourself. If you're not hungry, you're not to eat. I don't care if the world's crashing around you. Right. And if you do eat, the lesson too is to give yourself grace.
Like right, if you not freak out over it.
Totally. That the body can handle it. If you gain weight, you're willing to let the body deal, and it's to forgive yourself for the unintended overconsumption. That is a natural part too. Like, lot of people struggle with, they undereat, not intentionally, but they didn't have food available. So they end up getting too hungry, and then that they experience kind of the more rapid impulses from the brain to eat now, and they overconsume quickly, and then they get into a place where they're like, oh my God, I overate. I can feel it. It's not, I wonder if I overate. It is, I overeat. To recognize that that's okay. To learn and to look at it from a distance so you can see, well, I got really hungry. Like maybe I need to pack some snacks. Because if you get too hungry, it's natural to have those impulses to overeat. From the brain, it's not emotional. It's like the brain is sending signals to eat rapidly, and you stop thinking about the pleasure of the food, and you're just trying to get rid of pain, right? There's hunger pain. So that's what everybody who has hunger pains to some degree will overeat to get rid of it. So anyways, so overall, you sound like it's over for you. You feel good?
I do.
No issues. Are you kidding me?
No, I am. It's good. It's very good.
Have you noticed? Have you body checked at all?
Yeah, I still find that creeping in once in a while, but not to. I just kind of peek and then don't worry, get over it. Tell myself to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you probably will. Let's just imagine you check your weight, and are you curious to see if it's smaller?
I am, but I haven't even stepped on the scale.
Got it.
I'm just afraid that it'll pull everything out from under me if I do it. And it's not what I want it to be.
Okay, so let's face that fear right now. Okay, here we go. This is something we need to work on. Let's face that fear. What if you are thinner?
See, I think I'd be really happy. And I know I'm not
okay, that's fine. Don't stop there. Keep on going with what would happen. So let's imagine
I might think, well, then I can have more.
Okay. And what happens next? So keep on going. You're not describing something you haven't experienced before. So let's go through this. Let's go through what your past experience has been, getting gratification from thinnerness. What happens?
Either then you want more to lose more, or you would think you have a little more leeway.
And what happens to this freedom? Just those thoughts in and of itself. Those thoughts come from the removal of the freedom. So when you start having those thoughts, your freedom's already gone. Mm-hmm. Right? So go back and then move it forward again. Let's weigh yourself. I would actually love to weigh you right now. Because we need to face it. Like if this still exists, you need to face it. You might be ignoring the issue. You might be repressing or suppressing the reality that exists in fear that it's going to blow up. And if it exists, it's going to blow up. So why don't we just force it?
Force it to blow up.
That's the way I roll, lady. Let's do it. Why sit back and pretend like that doesn't exist? So by forcing it forward, it'll help you learn. If it exists, you need to experience the suffering again. So go into, if you imagine that you have lost weight because you're ignoring it, because you're allowing yourself to eat to hunger, because of all the freedom that you get. The body's now on its own. It's managing itself, right? You're free to not worry about it, not think about it, not manage it, not have anything to do with it, right? You've got all this freedom. Which is a miracle. Mm-hmm. So you've been given the grace of all of this freedom, this miraculous liberty, right, from that insanity.
And the body is on its own too. That's what you had to do to give the body the freedom, is you had to let it go. You had to let it do what it's going to do. So you've got all this freedom to not worry or think about it and be an indentured servant to it. So now the body's had enough freedom. I mean, you and I have been working together for over a month. So what if the body has lost weight?
And that's what it wants to do.
So what does it mean to you?
Shouldn't mean anything.
Well, let's go through the thought process of, well, if I like it, if I want it, now what happens?
Well, I guess that's where I get confused. Like, I think I'm not supposed to like it, but I would like it.
Well, let's talk about what would happen if you liked it. You're just saying the truth. So, yeah, yes, what you just said is your logic and your intelligence says, well, I'm not supposed to like it, but the truth is.
It seems guilty to like it.
Yeah, don't do that.
It just happened.
Don't do that. That's not the goal. The goal is that
I don't want to feel guilty. That's why I kind of just try not to think about it.
No, okay. Now you're twisting the work that we're doing into something it's not, right? I'm not saying you're doing it intentionally, but
I might be. I don't know.
You are. Oh my God, I'm so glad we're talking. No, the truth is the truth. And it's really important that we allow the truth to come forward. So that's why this isn't about this or that. This work is not about what you should and what you shouldn't do. It's about maintaining this freedom. Would you agree?
Yes.
So whatever.
That is the ultimate goal, yes.
Okay, so let's hold that goal in mind. The goal is to maintain this freedom. Like, not thinking about it, not worrying about it, not being a prisoner of it, not being responsible for it. That gives you like this freedom with food that isn't toxic and destructive. I mean, all of the things that you're getting from not being a part of it is amazing, right? So hold that is as the goal, okay? What will happen when you weigh yourself if you've lost weight? If you get the narcotic euphoria attached to it, if you attach betterness to the thinnerness, what will happen to that freedom?
I'm not sure.
Well,
I know I'll be excited, but
hold on.
That's where I feel like I shouldn't get excited.
No, stop judging it. Just go into that. Just stop judging it. I'm not judging it. I'm not judging it over here. I'm not telling you to judge it. I just want you to go into what will happen. What will happen to that freedom? Just go into the radical truth of what I'm saying. What will happen if you get gratification? If you like the thinnerness? Feel that. Feel liking your thinnerness. And tell me what happens to that freedom.
I guess it goes away.
Well, don't guess.
Well, that's why I'm not. I don't
want you guessing.
I don't know if the feeling of freedom will go away or.
Well, all this takes is thinking about it. So go into deeply thinking about it. Connect to it. Go into the feel of it. Are you afraid to?
Maybe I am.
I think you are.
Because I feel like I'm trying to react the way I'm supposed to react, and I'm not sure now where I'm supposed to go from here.
Okay, so I'm here as your guide. Do you trust that if you get sucked back down, I can guide you to get yourself back out?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go there. I want you to feel what it will feel like to weigh yourself and see that you have lost weight. Allow the feeling to come forward.
I feel excited. I have to say that.
Okay, that's okay. I'm not judging you. I don't think there's anything.
But maybe I'm just judging myself.
Yes, stop. Stop judging. Stop. There's no reason for you to judge that.
I do want you, though, to observe what happens to the freedom. Just observe it. What happens to the freedom the moment you attach to that thinnerness?
It takes a backseat to the body image that I'm worried about.
Yeah, the thinnerness comes forward, doesn't it? And it becomes tunnel vision. That open space of not worrying about it, caring about it, thinking about it, all of a sudden gets whoosh into tunnel vision. And all you see is the thinnerness. Yeah. Is it worth it?
I guess that's why I just haven't stepped on the scale.
I would love for you to get on a scale. Are you home yet?
No, I'm not. I'm in my car.
God damn it. I would really be helpful for us to face it while I'm on the phone with you. But honestly, why do we need to physically do it? You need to go through it in your mind. Imagine it's true. How much weight do you think you've lost?
I'd say probably about 7 or 8 pounds.
Okay, so let's just go there. Is it worth trying to keep it?
No.
Not
if it involves getting back on that roller coaster.
You mean the tunnel vision?
Right. Of the diet, the binging, the worrying, the getting upset.
Yes, because that's what it will take if you want that 7 to 8 pounds. The wanting of it. If you want that, that's where the gratification comes from. So,
but if it's just maintaining this, eating when I'm hungry and not thinking about it, and it happens to keep the 7 or 8 pounds off, then it's like a win-win.
No, it's none of your business. It doesn't matter because you don't get. You see what I mean? Yeah, we could say sure that's a win-win, but it's only a win-win to the narcissist. And is that even possible for you to want thinness and to keep your freedom? Is it even possible to have that win-win?
Probably not.
I've never seen it happen. Ever. Because as soon as you want that thinness, freedom just disappears. It disappears. You don't even know it disappeared. You'll be like, oh my God, Robin, I don't know why I started binging today. And I'll go, oh, well, you must have gotten something out of the thinnerness and then you wanted it. Because once you want it, there is a sense of you attach to it. And it's almost like you have all this freedom, but there's a weird belief that says when you're thinner, you're going to get this freedom. So as soon as you remove yourself from the freedom and attach to the thinnerness, the freedom's gone. It's gone. Right? So how would you, let's just go there. If you attach to that thinnerness and you like it, that means you think you're getting something out of it. What will happen if you gain 2 pounds the next day? What if you weigh yourself and you're like, I lost 8 pounds. And then a week later, you want to weigh yourself again and you're up 5.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What would that feel like?
Put you back on that rat race again.
Mm-hmm. Now you got to do something.
I got to fix it.
And then what happens?
Then you're right back where you started.
Mm-hmm. You got it. So do you
That's
really?
That's why I don't even want to weigh myself.
Well, I'm going to redirect what you said. That's why I don't want to care about it. I just don't want to care about it. So it's not about weighing myself. It's about caring about what the scale says. I don't want to care.
Well, that could be part of why I haven't weighed, because it kind of doesn't matter. And I'm afraid if I do weigh myself, it'll make it matter.
No, because the scale isn't where mattering exists. It is within your desire. It is you that holds the ticket. You're the one that has the responsibility around, I don't want it to matter anymore. If I lose 8 pounds, who gives a shit? If I regain 5, I don't care. So why does it matter? So it's not the scale and what it says that matters. It's the belief that thinner is better that creates the matter. So you really have to go into your beliefs around, is thinner really better? Especially if it requires that tunnel vision. Is it really better if you have tunnel vision?
No.
Nope. So if your body gets thinner as you live in a huge visual spectrum, does it really matter what the body is doing one way or the other if you get complete and total vision of what life is about?
No, it doesn't matter.
Right. So if you are, and I think this is maybe where we need to solidify this in your mind is, are you willing to sacrifice this freedom to keep being thinner?
No.
Are you willing to gain weight to keep this freedom?
Yes.
Are you willing to lose weight and regain what you lost to keep this freedom?
Yeah.
Are you willing to be 20 pounds less and not care and be willing to regain 20 to maintain this freedom? So what does it matter what you weigh on the scale?
So then why do I have to know if it doesn't matter?
You don't.
Okay. So if I never weigh myself again because it truly does not matter to me.
Yeah, but that sounds like it matters to you. So there's two sides to this. This is important. This is an important thing to be aware of, that you've got to be capable of weighing yourself. That's the only way to understand that it doesn't matter. If you're avoiding the scale, okay, just hear me out here. If you are avoiding the scale, just think about that. Is it really true that you don't care if you avoid the scale?
I guess not, because you're not facing the truth.
You're in denial. I understand it because it's traumatizing. What you just came out of is traumatizing. You were willing to commit suicide. So it's understandable why you'd be like, I just rather not weigh myself because I don't want the temptation. Well, that means it's not real. The recovery isn't solidified. It needs to be solidified. To where...
that's what it kind of feels like, that it's working, but I'm still on shaky ground.
Yeah, and that's understandable. And that's why I'm here, is to say we need the ground to be solid. And so you face what it is. So one of the things that I remember thinking in my mind is, no matter what I weigh, I will never again let go of this freedom. This freedom, I would rather be 500 pounds. So it doesn't matter if I'm thinner either. It doesn't matter. I don't care about the thinness. That thinness and body image, I reject it. I don't want it. I don't need it. Now, when I say I reject it, it doesn't mean I sabotage the physical body's reality. So I'm not sitting here binging trying to gain weight to avoid the body that was worshipped and is worshipable, right? I just don't attach to it. I am completely unattached. I have a friend that grew up wealthy, okay? She grew up in Beverly Hills, okay? Or money. She's just... And she... when she left home and went to college, she didn't know people weren't wealthy. And we were talking about this the other day, and she almost was embarrassed that she didn't have to work and her parents sent her money and she had this car. She was almost embarrassed by it. And so she actually went and found a job and tried to hide her money and went secondhand shopping, but lowered her spending because she didn't want people to make assumptions about her wealth. And
she wanted to fit in with everybody else.
Correct. She did. Well, yeah. Plus, she was embarrassed. She felt it was a bad thing to be wealthy. And so I was explaining to her, it's common in body image too, that, because when someone meets the ideal, people make assumptions about you, right? So I get people comment to me all the time, you must be doing CrossFit. You are so healthy, right? And I don't buy it. Right? So they're projecting onto me some standard of superiority. And it just is, it's meaningless to me.
And what do you say when somebody says something like that?
Well, no. In fact, I try to deflect, but I certainly don't internalize it. I would never inflate myself with that ever again. It was not worth it. It is, right? I learned my lesson, to be objectified, and they don't know they're doing it. They just assume I'm a thin supremacist. And then I'm like, exactly. Those people over there don't take care of themselves. And I do, Don't do that.
You want to hear something funny? I catch myself talking to myself in that funny little voice that you use.
The Valley Girl.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it kind of matches the narcissism, I am super amazing. And so I was talking to this friend about money because people make assumptions when someone has money. They can assume that you're wealthy and you don't know how to work and you're entitled and you don't have a job. There's so many. And there's other assumptions with other people that you're superior because you drive a nicer car, or you're superior because you can afford to buy those things, or you're superior. And so, but she didn't want to be attached to any of it anymore. And so we were talking about how these social promoted kind of superficiality people can project onto you. And so, but if you don't care or you don't give it meaning, it doesn't matter. She doesn't have to hide her money anymore. She doesn't have to. She doesn't like to flaunt it, but she doesn't have to feel bad. Sure. She doesn't have to feel bad about it, right? Like I said, it's not like I went out and said, I'm going to force myself to gain 50 pounds. So a lot of people think that's what I'm suggesting. It's like, no. True detachment is that it's either direction. That I can meet a standard, but I don't internalize it as my betterment. It's only better relative to whatever standard someone is holding me to, I don't have to focus on it. It doesn't have to be meaningful. It doesn't have to be defining. So if you can separate who you are from the body, then what does it matter what the body weighs? When you go to the doctor and they weigh you, does it matter? Is it going to change the way you're eating?
It shouldn't.
Well, go into that truth. You just said what the rules are, and that's not what I'm trying to get you to do.
Right, the expectation, right?
Yeah, get rid of that. That's not my way of doing it. That's something you're doing. I'm not setting rules for you.
Right. I guess I'm this girl who's just trying to live up to expectations all my life, and it's hard to.
Okay, well, there's no reason for you to do that anymore. Just be real. Don't feel bad about having these feelings. I'm the one who's guiding you, and I'm sitting there saying, let yourself be thin and feel like amazed by it. I'm like telling you to go into the fire right now. Relax. Go into that reality, the truth that's in there. How are you going to recover if you're not willing to admit those things and face them? So I want you to really go into that thought process. If you want the thinnerness, if the body is thinner and you attach to it again, what happens to the freedom?
It's gone.
Yeah. Because now you have to focus on your thinnerness. You have to promote your thinnerness. It becomes what you think about. You have to body check even more. You have to make sure it maintains itself. So that freedom just goes whoosh.
Poof.
Poof. Yeah. So if you weigh yourself, so here's something to kind of give you some bearings, because I think maybe that's what we need to work on is bearings around how to maintain this freedom. First of all, you have to, one thing that I think was very rooting for me, it really rooted this recovery for me to where it's 20 years later and I have never relapsed, ever. Through pregnancies and babies and stress and moving and job loss and, nothing has ever
I'm very rooted in it. Is first of all, it's the fact that I'm so willing to still, to this day, if I had to be 500 pounds, I would do it in 2 seconds to keep this freedom. If that's what God said, Robin, you've had this freedom for 20 years, and to remain this way, you have to be 500 pounds. I'd be like, okay, I'll adapt, you know? It is that this way of eating will never change for me. This freedom, this grace, this normalness, I will never let go of again. I will adapt, to my living situation. If we live in famine, I'll adapt down. I don't have to eat the way I do. I can reduce it, right? But it's not because I'm trying to be better as a human or, but so I will never again, I will eat when I'm hungry. I will eat adequately, and I will give myself the freedom of all food permanently. That is not negotiable. Root that down, like super root it. Now, with that perspective, does it matter if you're thinner? Because you're not willing to change your food consumption. It doesn't matter. I don't know if that's connecting for you.
No, I know it has to be ingrained into your system.
Well,
this is the way it is.
You need to make these specific choices. This is a choice that I'm presenting you. Here is a choice. If you're thinner and you get gratification, what's the point of that gratification if you are not willing to change your food consumption at all?
Say that again.
If you are not willing to change this way of eating, this freedom, you are not willing to give this freedom up, right? If that is true, what does weighing yourself, what does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
At all. In any direction. Because it doesn't matter if you're 2 pounds heavier. I'm not changing this way of eating. If I'm 2 pounds thinner.
Freedom's more gratifying than the thinnerness.
Yeah, so even if you're 6 pounds thinner or 8 pounds thinner, are you willing to change this way of eating for it? To keep it?
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
So next time you weigh, it might be 2 pounds heavier. So this way of eating is no longer attached to my weight forever. So I wonder if your nervousness was because you might have felt that they were still attached.
It could be.
Well, you just have to go in and think about it, and you'll get an instant answer.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Go back to if I weigh myself and see that I've lost 8 pounds, where is the anxiety coming from? Because there is anxiety attached to that for you.
Yeah, keeping it.
That I have to keep it off. And what does that mean? So you see how that relates to food now? So you'll never, ever deprive again. So do you have to keep it?
No.
Mm-mm. Is that changing that feeling at all for you?
Yeah, it does make it seem less scary.
Because you have to solidify in your mind, I will never change. This is the way I'm going to eat forever. Forever. So what does it matter then if you're 8 pounds less and regain the weight? Right? Do you see how that makes that weight loss irrelevant? Because no matter what I weigh, I'm not changing the way I'm eating. So I might gain the weight back. Yep. So I've talked in past videos about, the 5 parts of, I think it's 5, recovery. Accept you'll never be thinner. Accept the current weight you're at, which is kind of what you have to do to let go of thinnerness. Accept that you could gain weight. You could get bigger. Accept that if you lose weight, that it has nothing to do with you, right? That you're not going to attach to losing weight. And if you do lose weight, that you could regain it all back. So I will never be thinner. I have to be exactly where I'm at. I could get fatter. I could lose weight and it doesn't matter. And the weight I do lose, I could gain back. So you see how all 5 of those really hit it from every angle. That no matter what, I will never change this way of eating again. So my food consumption does not change, which means I might never lose weight, which means I might stay the same weight, which means I might gain weight. And if I do lose weight, that I'm not going to change it for anything to keep it, and I might regain weight if I lose weight. Doesn't matter. All of it is the body's deal. It's not your business anymore. So the pressure and anxiety that you had was attached to if the body loses weight, we have to keep that. So go into that in your mind. I want you to feel that out. If your body does lose weight, do you have to keep that weight loss? Is it your responsibility to keep that weight loss?
No.
How does that feel?
That feels good.
Yeah, it's none of your business. It's whatever the body's doing. Why is it your business? And do you really want the symbolism attached to it? Do you want that symbolism?
No.
Not with all that baggage. It comes with some dark, it's like the devil, right? It's like, oh, the devil comes with all sorts of baggage, right? It's kind of like when you imagine that you have broken up with this boyfriend, you break up with this relationship, and this is like, this person is super attractive, right? He's got everything. This person is like could provide you a lot, right? But it's extremely toxic, very abusive, right? So you finally break up with this person and you're free and you're liberated and you're like no longer in an abusive relationship and having to perform inhumane things to maintain this relationship, right? You finally break up and get your freedom, and then this person calls you. Could you answer the phone?
No.
You see what I'm saying around, well, it wouldn't matter if there's nothing they can say. They could be like, I just won the lottery, I'm going to buy you a yacht. And you're like, yeah, no thanks.
That's okay.
You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. There's nothing they can say. Obviously, it just doesn't matter. If you run into this person in the street, do you need to run away? Do you need to avoid this person?
No.
No, because that means that you still, it still is affecting you.
Scared of it.
Correct. So the goal is that you can see this person and go, hi, great to see you. And they could be like, damn girl, you're looking good. You want to get together tonight? And you'll be like, no thanks. I got a wedding ring for you. I've got a yacht. I'm super hot. Let me show you my abs.
Nah, it's okay.
Exactly. Thanks though. That is what this feels like. It's like, yeah, no, I've slept around with that douchebag and I'll never do it again. I don't care how hot he is and how much money he has and how much stability he could give me, and I could have this and that. It's like, nope, not worth it. I'd rather not. That's what it feels like. So
good example.
So that would be like, oh, I could weigh myself and I don't care.
That's a really good example.
You must have a similar, you can relate to that. So yeah, you see why I'd be like, why not weigh yourself? You think it's 8 pounds, but what if it's only 3?
Doesn't matter.
See what I mean? Does it really change?
No.
So
I'm still happy to be out of that place.
That it doesn't matter. I will never let go of this freedom. What is worth getting rid of this freedom? Is there anything that is worth, okay, I'm going to get rid of all this freedom because there's something here that's going to be just as awesome? Is there anything?
No.
I would agree. Nothing.
No.
So I want you to imagine getting on this scale and you haven't lost any weight. How does that feel?
Okay. okay.
Does it matter?
No.
Imagine you weigh yourself and you're 5 pounds less. Feel it. Like, feel it.
It just comes along with what I'm going through.
Yeah. So if you attach to it, freedom goes away. If you stay detached from it, like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not gonna. What am I supposed to do? Nothing. You're to do nothing. How does that feel?
Weird.
So does that give you a sense of, like, confidence in this? To go,
yeah.
I'm not to do anything. It's none of my business. And not only is it less, but it could be up to the next day, and I don't have to care about that either. None of it matters.
Mm-hmm.
Could you see where this is a common road, this is a very common, what's the word? Relapse point?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I could stick by it.
Say that again?
I relapse point, and it did feel like I was coming to a crossroads, like not sure what to do next, but now, like, it just helps me to solidify it by imagining different scenarios and realizing that it has a high cost and all that stuff.
Yeah, so you reject it. You reject it from your business. None of my business. So it can be super triggering or incredibly solidifying when I have someone weigh themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might need to weigh yourself. Are you home yet?
No? I am.
Do you have a scale around?
I do.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So go through it all in your mind. What if you're heavier? What if you're less? Is anything going to change? Is anything going to change no matter what it says?
No.
Are you saying that from your heart?
Yes, I'm saying that from my heart. Not going to matter.
Nothing's changing.
All right, I'm heading up to the scale.
How does that feel? Tell me how that feels to know that it doesn't matter. Even if you lose weight, even if it says you're 7 pounds less, are you willing to regain that 7 pounds to keep this weight or keep this freedom?
Yes.
Oh, now how does that feel?
It does feel liberating.
Yeah, because then it doesn't matter what it says. It doesn't matter because I'm willing to regain weight.
Yeah, freedom is definitely worth more than the anxiety that's produced by looking at a number on the scale, that's for sure.
No shit. And attaching to it like it's something important.
Well, and that's what I have to believe, that it is not important.
Well, it's not important to you. You have to actually go into your heart and ask and tell yourself the truth. Is it really important enough that I'm willing to give up this freedom?
Mm-hmm.
Which, is it really that important?
No, it's not.
So,
because being on the verge of just, I don't know, death is not a good place to be.
No, it's not. No, stop it. Stop it. Stop it right now.
Okay, I'm ready to do it. I'm stepping up. It's all cleared and ready to go.
Okay, what was your weight before?
Huh?
What was your weight before?
I'm trying to think. I'd say about 206, maybe 208, something like that.
Okay. Stop it, potato. You stop it. Okay, go ahead.
He's waiting for the big moment.
He sees another dog. No, he's just trying to. That's right. Stop it.
202.
Does that matter?
Nope. It doesn't.
How does it
feel good no matter what the number says?
Are you gonna starve today? Are you gonna do anything today to make sure you lose more weight?
Nope.
Does it change anything?
No.
Would you be willing?
I'm glad I did it, just to get it. I did it. I don't have to be afraid of it. Just do it and deal with it, and it's fine.
Yeah. Are you willing to get rid of this freedom to try to be less than 200 pounds?
No.
Would you be okay if you kept on doing the same thing if you never lost another pound?
Yes.
What if next time you weigh yourself, it's back to 208? You can be okay with that?
Yes.
What if the next time you weigh yourself, it's like 195?
It just wouldn't matter.
It's none of your business. Right? Do you want to attach to it? Do you want to make it your problem? Do you want to make it your process? Or would you rather just not care?
I'd rather just not care.
Me too.
I'll tell you what, too. I feel like lately, I have a lot more energy to do things that I just was always too tired to do before.
Yeah. Well, for sure.
Yeah, granted, I still get tired at bedtime. I'm like pooped and ready to go to sleep, but
I know, me too.
I don't know, I just feel like my mind is more freed up to do things that I've been wanting to do.
Well, you're not carrying around this anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Go back into anxiety and what that feels like. That is exhausting.
It's terrible.
It is exhausting. It's like extreme amounts of energy put into worry and nothing, really. And so you don't have that anymore. It's really relaxing. I mean, you should feel relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, it changes how you are. I agree
with that.
Yeah, and that has nothing to do with your weight. It really doesn't. It's like, it has everything to do with your state of mind. You're awfully cute, Potato.
Potato.
That's his name. Awesome. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be where I am.
Doesn't it feel good to face this instead of to try to avoid it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, just face it. Face it. You're capable of it.
I guess that's part of all this, too, learning that I am capable of making right choices.
Well, just experiencing what it is. It doesn't matter. You're capable of facing fear, and you're capable. That's a good feeling. Like, was this as hard as you thought it would be?
No.
So your fear made it far more catastrophic than it really is.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I'd like to follow up a little sooner just to see how this settles. If it does become you become attached to it, I'm going to want to follow up.
Okay.
Because it might. You might start thinking about it. It might start sucking your mind. It's worth it to me to get you to know the truth of your recovery. Don't you agree? You kind of have to do stuff like this to really know where you're at. The truth of it.
Oh, yeah.
The truth of the recovery. Is it really truthful to say you're recovered when you won't face anything that triggers anything?
No.
It's like saying I'm over that boyfriend, but I have to avoid everywhere he goes.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll hurt too much if I see him again.
Exactly. So you're saying I'm over that boyfriend. Really?
Mm-hmm.
But you won't go around that neck of the neighborhood. How come?
Mm-hmm.
Are you really over it? And so, to me, it's at least as your guide, I'm going to guide you to go into what feels vulnerable, because it's going to come out sooner or later, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather it be sooner than later. If we're going to recover, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Go through the process of it. Go through what you're going to...
Get rid of it once and for all.
Yes, face reality now. Let's face it.
It doesn't really matter. You're not going to change this way of being for anything. So it's kind of nice to know you can ignore the body and that it's capable of running itself. That's a pretty cool feeling, don't you think, that the body is capable of running itself? Do you really need to do all that shit?
No, I never had to tell my kidneys or my liver what to do before.
Not at all, exactly. Yep. Yeah, you didn't.
And I'd probably screw it up if I tried to tell them what to do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, your body knows what it's doing. It's none of your business. Let it do what it's doing and stay in your freedom. Doesn't matter. Even if you get thinner, it doesn't matter. Because it's not important to you anymore. If it's not important, then it doesn't really matter. If it's good for the body, good for the body. But it's not necessary for you to be okay and to feel good about yourself, is it?
No.
You were okay when you were 208 pounds. Yeah. It's like, I'm willing to go back up to 208. It doesn't matter to me. So that gives you this freedom. It gives you can stay in this space of freedom if you are willing to not care. As long as you don't care what your weight is, whether it's higher or lower or anything in between, you keep this freedom. It's pretty easy. You just have to remain unattached, not care. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful because it gives you that access to love the body no matter what. It's like unconditional love. So it's not like you love it more. It's the same body.
Right. Love it the same.
Yeah. So yeah, the illusion of betterment by losing weight should just be like, it's better. It's kicking ass. When I was 208 pounds working, it was bionic. Its ability was still there, whether it was, being repressed through dieting or if I'm allowing it to manifest by letting it go. What's manifesting is its innate ability. It's not new. So cool, isn't it? All right.
It is.